What's up, everybody? Welcome to Log On Games Weekly for March 13th, Friday the 13th. Oh, spooky, spooky. We are here today on this Friday to give you an escape from all the coronavirus craziness that has happened so far this year by talking about the coronavirus. We are going to talk about E3. It is somewhat true. We are going to talk about E3 being canceled by the coronavirus, but more so on what that means for E3. And then we've had a bunch of these developers come out and kind of explain what they are going to do as far as their big announcements this year. So stay tuned for that. We also have our giveaway winners coming up right before the topic of the week. We're going to talk about some Nintendo and some Call of Duty Warzone stuff. But today with me, I have XUser8X. He is Matthew XUser8X on all the socials.
On all the socials, on all the video game systems, including Xbox as of this week. So, yeah.
Also with us today, we have Marty back with us.
Let's go.
From quite a bit, and see, we're doing this podcast we record it on the internets, so we can like fake high five and fake shake hands as much as we want to.
True.
It saves us from the corona.
That's true.
Exactly. Marty, give them your stream. Since everybody's going to be at home for the next decade. No, not really, but go ahead and hit them with your stream link so they can check it out.
What's up, y'all? I'm Martin Casaus. I'm known in the wrestling world as Marty the Moth Martinez or Marty Casaus. You're going to be probably sitting at home because everything is being canceled around us. So come check out my stream at Marty the Moth Casaus. Twitch.tv, Marty the Moth Casaus. Just look for Martin Casaus on everything and I'm easy to find. There's that Google. It works really well.
Heck yeah.
There you go. And yeah, everybody's going to be at home more than likely within the coming weeks. So check out a stream. Shibby, who's part of this podcast quite a bit, he also has a stream at Shibby120. He streams a lot on Instagram. So go to Shibby120 on Instagram. He does a lot of Nintendo stuff. He's been streaming a lot more often now, and I think he will be as well in the coming weeks. As well as, if you listen to last week's episode, Robot Giggles was on, and she is mixer.com/Robot Giggles, I believe. So check out her stream. I assume, is going to be streaming the crap out of Call of Duty Warzone.
And she has been. I've been on there just a little bit. She's been streaming. It's all crazy.
Shit.
So if you're sitting at home, Mixer.
Mixer, okay.
So same, yeah. But so for all of you who are going to be sitting at home, whether you're listening to this now or in a couple of weeks, go check out those streams if you're bored.
I'm going to double check something real quick because something in my head has that her Twitch stream is. Okay, no, it's just Robot Giggles. I was thinking it was Robot_Giggles because some of her other socials are that. So, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, and again, we're going to be announcing our giveaway winners for NBA 2K20 and the Game Pass right before the topic of the week. But this is Log On Games Weekly podcast that has all the news and hot topics from the gaming world that you need to know about. New episodes upload every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Ouch.Hurts.com, Google, and so much more. Basically, wherever you listen to your podcast at. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give us 5 stars. That helps us out a whole bunch. Or if you're not, you can share the link with your friends. That would be greatly appreciated. You can follow us at Log On Games on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where we do giveaways. You can comment. We'll have listener questions, all that kind of stuff at Log On Games on all the socials. So let's get into the weekly news here. Only 2 real items this week because of all the E3 craziness. But before all this happened, I know we talked last week, if you listened to our podcast last week, we talked about when Call of Duty Warzone, like all the rumors that surrounded Call of Duty Warzone, the Battle Royale, and when it could come out, when it might come out. And one of those things was that it might come out very soon, and it did. It came out by the time we're recording this, 2 days ago. So it came out Tuesday, March 10th. And it is basically Call of Duty's full-fledged Battle Royale game. There's actually another mode in there that is basically you collect money, but the bulk of what was announced was Call of Duty Battle Royale. And so it is free for everyone. You do not have to have Modern Warfare to download it. You can just go on the PlayStation Store or the Xbox Marketplace and download that pappy for free. All of the Battle Pass unlocks and all that stuff carries over if you do have Modern Warfare or you get Modern Warfare in the future. Everything you unlock kind of carries over from depending on what you're playing. But fun fact, if you're on PlayStation, you do not need PS Plus to play Call of Duty Warzone. However, if you're on Xbox, you do need Xbox Live Gold to play Call of Duty, which is kind of strange, but a little nugget of information there. And again, like we said, Robot Giggles was hoping to have her on the podcast, but if you want to go check her stream out, she will be streaming this a lot. If you aren't familiar with it, I played maybe an hour and a half of it, and I'm just going to go ahead. It's so early on since the game's come out that I'm just going to kind of defer to all the other Call of Duty people. But to me personally, it was just like I played for about an hour and a half, and I was like, yep, this is what you would expect a Call of Duty Battle Royale to be, which is not necessarily what I prefer in Battle Royale. Like, for example, I was talking with somebody on Twitter last night about how Fortnite and Apex kind of have that magic factor to me. And I didn't really get that from Call of Duty. Like the first time you play Apex, or the first couple of times you play Fortnite, you kind of understand a lot of stuff right off the bat. And it's easy to learn and easy to get going. I didn't necessarily get that from Call of Duty. So I don't know if that's going to be, if the masses are going to come to this Battle Royale and 1, 2, 3 years down the line, it's still going to be going strong like Fortnite and Apex is, or if it's just pretty much just going to be kind of like Blackout was, and just kind of be like a Call of Duty thing. Like if you're a Call of Duty fan, you're into it or whatever. I don't know if it's going to spread too much beyond that, but I don't know. That's kind of what my 2 cents were. I didn't play it too long. If you're interested in it, like I said, it is free on just about any platform. Who knows? Maybe it'll come to the Switch. No, probably won't, but who knows?
I would describe it as this. I describe it as, if you like Call of Duty, you'll probably like this as a Battle Royale. If you're not, and if you're like I am personally, I'm not interested in Call of Duty anymore. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me. And so, I mean, I watched some of the streams and some of the gameplay, and it looks like if I liked Call of Duty, I'd probably like it. That's what I viewed it as. So,
yeah.
Which is a lot of people, a whole lot of people.
Yeah, and some things that they do differently are cool. Some things I don't know if they're cool or not. For example, it's 150 people. Teams of 3, 150 people. You can play solo if you want to. You'll just be put on a team of 3. But that's a whole lot of people. I found myself basically just running the entire time. It felt more like PUBG-ish, where it's just like very open, and to the point where I just felt like I'm just running the whole time and not seeing anybody forever. And all of a sudden you see somebody, you die. But one cool thing that they I don't know if it's cool yet, to be honest. I thought it's different, so it's call it cool. But when you die, you kind of go to this like prison place, like you get captured basically, and if you can like fight your way back into the game. So what happened to me was, it's like they took me to this prison cell, and then there's just people punching each other all over the place. So I just started punching each other, and all of a sudden I got thrown into this arena that's basically a one-on-one gunfight. And if you win the gunfight, you get spawned back in the game. So I was like, that's cool. You know, it's kind of different. Like in Apex, you know, you can go pick up their banner and revive them to get your teammates back in the game. So I think one of the biggest problems with Battle Royales is when one of your teammates died, they just kind of sit there and they have nothing to do. So at least in this game mode, once you die, you have something that you can do, and you can possibly fight your way back. So it's not you're just like sitting there, or like in Apex, your teammate just quits because they died, or you didn't get their banner in time or whatever. So that was cool. But again, free on all platforms. You want to go check it out. We're going to move on to two possible Nintendo Directs in the works. I'm reading this from VentureBeat.com. The next Nintendo Direct is in the works. The publisher hasn't confirmed the event yet, but it's in the final stages of putting the video presentation together. That's based on what we're hearing, as well as some other indicators. Expect a Nintendo Direct soon. The company is penciling in one of its indie showcases, kind of like what they did last year around GDC 2019. However, it's more than likely going to get canceled for 2020. So I think that they kind of already know that. But they're guessing that the indie showcase, or they're hearing that the indie showcase is going to be around March 18th with a general full direct that's kind of going to go over some 2020 games, likely to hit March 26th. So if these reports and rumors are true, that's an indie direct and then a normal direct very soon, which I kind of expect them to be true, because this is the longest that we've gone without an actual like full out Nintendo Direct. So any second, I kind of feel like they would pop one out.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Of course, it's Nintendo, so they'll tweet before this podcast goes out and have a direct tomorrow.
That's 100% true. But like Animal Crossing comes out the 20th. 6 days later, you get a Nintendo Direct, because we really don't know beyond Animal Crossing. We really don't have any dates or anything for Nintendo.
No dates.
We know that they announced that Breath of the Wild game, Breath of the Wild 2 last year, but they just showed a trailer and that was it. So we don't know if that's a game coming soon or not. We don't know any of their games that are coming out beyond Animal Crossing. Like summer is right around the corner.
All the E3 announcements.
Exactly. We don't know what their big fall games are. So we'll talk about this a little bit on the topic of the week, but I would assume that they're going to still have a Nintendo Direct around June sometime, where E3 would be. Maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, but around that same time probably, because they're probably already planning on doing this Direct and then having the E3 Direct. So I don't know if I expect huge announcements from this one. Maybe we get this kind of makes... They would always do a Direct before E3. Like both the Pokemons that have come out, they've kind of done a Direct right before E3. Especially when the Let's Go games, I think they did that Direct in like May or something, to kind of free up space for everything else for the Direct for later. But so I can see them doing like the Metroid trilogy or something like that. It's something really cool that a lot of people will be excited about, but not giving away like huge announcements like whatever their fall game's going to be or something. Like if they were going to announce another Mario Kart, I don't think it's going to be here. It would be like more of an E3 thing, or around when that would be. But
right.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it looks like we're going to at least get something from them finally. But the big news this week was that E3 was canceled, and that all these other developers have plans on what they're going to do. So right before we get into that, if you've listened to the podcast the last 2 weeks, we've been doing a little bit of a giveaway here where you could win NBA 2K20 for Xbox or a month of Game Pass by following and commenting on our giveaway posts on our social medias.
What if you said my name for the giveaway and I got an Xbox this week just so that I knew that I could win the giveaway?
Just everybody in the podcast, that's the people that win.
Sweet, I'm cool with winning prizes.
But no, so we have two separate winners here. and I apologize if I butcher your names.
Oh, you will.
But the winner of Games Pass came from both winners came from Twitter. And we are at Log On Games on every platform, but both of the winners came from Twitter at SCO. It almost sounds Russian. It's KOZ. It's KOZYREV. Kozrev, something like that. At SKozrev83 on Twitter. You won Game Pass. You've already been messaged, so if you're listening to this and you didn't know, you've been messaged with the code.
You lucky dog.
So congratulations to you. And then the winner of NBA 2K20, it's at Roman Valerio 2 on Twitter, is the winner of NBA 2K20. So both of them, again, they commented on our Twitter post, followed, and you have been sent the code as well. So if you're listening to this, congratulations. And the code is waiting on you, on both of you in your DMs on Twitter. I slid into those DMs. You know what I mean? As
I am sitting here looking at an Xbox in front of me, you with Games Pass, hey, come see if Thieves It Up with us.
Come see if Thieves It Up.
Let's go see if Thieves It Up. Is that crossplay, right? See if Thieves is crossplay, correct?
It is PC and Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't
so
have a Log On podcast game of Sea
Let's do
Thieves.
it.
Why has that not happened yet, guys?
Because I've had an Xbox for like 5 days, but now we can do it. I'm in. I'm down. We played last night, and we were like all like Indiana Jones Uncharted-ing. It was so fun.
We were real-time pirates last night.
If y'all can't tell, he's really excited about his new Xbox, which he should be.
Well, there's 2 reasons, really 3 reasons. I've never been, since this generation of systems, I've never had a real desire to get an Xbox. But then Sea of Thieves came out, and I was like, man, I don't want to buy an Xbox just for one game, but I totally would play that game. Forza is always the mainstay because Gran Turismo needs to be better. Forza is good. I like that. That's cool. But the kicker, if y'all have listened to our top 10 games of all time that we did like over a year ago, Phantasy Star Online 2. And the open beta starts on the 17th. And I am going to... I'm glad that Corona's hitting now because I don't need to go outside anyways once that comes out. I feel like...
Plan. We unleash Corona on the world so we can stay home.
That's it. That's true. That's true.
You're welcome, World.
We started in Italy somehow.
But yeah, so congratulations to those winners. We're going to move on to the topic of the week here. Obviously, big news. The biggest of news from this week earlier, before every sporting event league in existence got canceled. E3 got canceled.
As we are recording this, I just got a notification while you were talking, Andrew, that NCAA has canceled men's and women's tournaments, including the NCAA and all of the remaining winter and spring sports championships.
Well, there you go. Breaking news here on the podcast.
Yeah. Breaking news today, but
Live.
Tomorrow when you hear this, it won't be better.
Yeah. Tomorrow. Good point.
But yeah, so E3 2020 canceled due to coronavirus concerns. This comes kind of where I'm getting this at is off GameSpot, but honestly, I don't feel like I need to read any of this because by the time you're listening to this,
you'll know,
or the title just kind of sums it up itself. Last week's podcast, our topic of the week was literally that even with the coronavirus concerns, E3 is planning on moving forward with everything. And then a week later, it is actually from the time this was actually announced, it was not even a week later, 4 days later.
Right. Yeah.
That they decided to completely cancel E3 2020, which I think we kind of gave our 2 cents on last week, which for gamers, it kind of sucks. It's a little bit like canceling Christmas Day. But at the same time, due to everybody else coming out here and saying that they're going to do their own events and stuff like that, it's almost like we canceled Christmas Day, but we're replacing it with Hanukkah. So you're gonna get stuff all month long. Yeah. So for example,
Exactly what I thought when I.
That's not
for
what I thought. But I
example,
like more days of Christmas. So
That's true.
exactly.
That's true.
For example, Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, tweeted out pretty soon after E3 kind of gave their announcement that they will be celebrating the next generation of gaming with the Xbox community and all who love to play via an Xbox digital event. Details and timing more in the coming weeks. So, not much of a surprise. It looks like they're going to kind of do their own first little digital thing here. I know Sony and Nintendo's been doing it forever. Sony kind of jumped on last year. Now Xbox is going to be doing, whether they wanted to or not, some digital events here coming up soon. So other companies have also kind of done this trend. I know Ubisoft has already said they're going to do their own digital event. I assume Bethesda will end up doing their own. And even this kind of came out of the blue, WB Games, which hadn't announced anything after E3 was canceled. WB Games came out and tweeted that they were going to have an E3 conference this year to announce a full slate of games that included Batman, a DC game universe, a new Harry Potter game, and more. So
more definitely means Animaniacs, surely.
don't tease me. Don't you dare tease me with Animaniacs.
I'd buy it.
I would 100% buy that.
There's time. Like I said, E3 was like 2.5 months away, 3 months away. WB Games doesn't do conferences, so they were going to do a conference this year. So it's kind of a big deal considering how big the Batman games are. And we saw the Harry Potter game leak last year, and it looked incredible. But we just had like whatever that 45 seconds of like a trailer or whatever. So we were going to find out all about that. But again, E3's canceled, so I assume they will do some sort of digital event at some point. So now the questions flood in, and there's really too many to ask in the short time that we have this podcast. But like I said, we're going from Christmas to Hanukkah here. So instead of everything being in a 1 or 2 day kind of event, everything this gives people a little bit of cushion. But I assume this close to the event, everybody already kind of had their plans to do something around E3. So I don't really expect many of these people to be like, oh, E3's canceled, we can now wait until July, August, September, October, whenever, or just not do anything at all, because it's a lot of planning that goes into E3. So I figured, even whether it's Ubisoft or Xbox or WB Games, etc., they were all crunching to get whatever demos or trailers and stuff they had together for E3, that I assume most of them will still do some sort of digital event, or, and this will be kind of the last bit of news E3 wise, they did say in their E3 or the ESA did say in their announcement that they're canceling. I can't find the actual announcement here, but they said that there will be E3 in some capacity this year, almost making it seem out to be like they may do a digital E3, and so like WB and all these kind of people can still like kind of be a part of E3, and so like E3 week will still kind of be there, it'll just all be online. So that's my 2 cents. I assume that the week of E3 will still be there, filled with just digital conferences instead of big, massive planned out conferences. So, Marty, I'm going to pass it over to you with all this information before I start handing out some questions. Initial thoughts on all the craziness that has happened with this.
With E3 or Corona in general?
Yes.
Both.
Yes, all of the above. Well, it's going to be a dynamic shift because everyone's telling everybody to, hey, get off your phones and get outside and go out and play. and go out and meet people. And then now it's like, just kidding, just kidding. Don't do that.
Oh,
Stay at home.
no, we
Get
were
on your
wrong. You don't
computer.
need people for anything.
Right. I was actually at All Elite Wrestling yesterday, and we were getting all the news that the NBA was canceled. There's going to be places limited on how many people can congregate on a single place. So if you can't, I heard 1,000, and then I heard another state considering the number 250. If you have 1,000 people that, if you have 1,001 that can't meet, how are you going to do concerts? I'm going to a Killswitch Engage concert at the end of this month. I assume they're
Or are
hoping for
you?
more than I, or am I? That's a
Yeah.
good question. That might get canceled too.
Yeah. Please.
It's a very scary thing to me, but also I'd rather people take the precautions. However, I think this is going to be excellent for people who are streamers like moi, because I already work from home. So this is going to be super good. However, like I also heard the number like 250 for the limit for people being
Yeah.
limited to. Like for some people, that's people's church congregations.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's people's like Boy Scouts and football stuff, like
Yeah,
football
just-
games in high school.
Just like work, just like, yeah, just offices in general.
Mm-hmm.
for
And
something.
User A had an awesome point earlier. If we postpone the pro sports, that's one thing because that's their lives. Their whole lives is playing said sport. So postponing it a couple months isn't a big deal. But what about those kids that are in college right now trying to get into the pros? Where now if that gets canceled,
Yep.
do they? What do they do to try and get into the NBA or
Well,
whatever sport they're trying to get to?
sure.
There it gets pushed back.
Or just like E3, I was thinking sports earlier, but same with E3, the people that are hired to work parking, the people that build the booths for E3, the people that, are the whatever security people for the NCAA tournament and those those are all jobs.
Yeah.
That
And it's not just
are-
E3. Like outside of E3, you have like the Mixer area, and you have the Twitch area, and even
Sure.
the indie game developers. Like I've been outside of E3. I haven't been inside, but I've been outside for the last 2 years, and even last year, Devolver Digital has just basically an indie developer. Like they have like a big like outside the conference center like thing where you can that's free to everybody, because indie games is kind of what you have to do, because when you go inside, it's all about the big guys, So it's hard for all the indie developers to get noticed. And for a lot of these indie developers, E3 is the place where you go to meet with investors and to meet with the big guns to try and get partnerships and all that kind of stuff. And so all that's kind of gone now as well. So what they may have been banking maybe an entire game on is now canceled. So it's pretty crazy.
And
It is
even big events like sticking with gaming and E3 TwitchCon, EU got canceled. That is like everybody in Europe who streams on Twitch that goes to that. Now it's canceled. Now what happens to all those people? WrestleMania is being talked about being canceled, and that's one of the biggest events ever. That's like very short to the
Huge.
Super Bowl. That's like one of the biggest events that happens in the world.
Huge.
That's being talked about being canceled. TwitchCon did get canceled. I don't know about the American version yet, but it's a possibility with all that stuff that's happening right now. Now, I've
sure.
not heard any sort of cure or any slowdown in this disease happening. Have you guys heard of any positive
really, no.
things? Not really?
I mean, other than the normal, what you're hearing from everywhere, they'll shake people's hands and stay inside as much as you can, or stay home as much as you can, those kind of things. It's a version, I guess you could say, of the flu, basically, is what it is. And so the issue with this specific version is you can get it and not know it for days. And so, yeah, I mean, there's, as far as actually cure or whatever, I think it's going to go to the same as most sicknesses. I heard a doctor that was talking about actually on the radio today, and he was talking about, man, Eat healthy, drink water, vitamin C, the best you can, all that kind of stuff. Because even if you contract the disease and somebody can get it from you or whatever, if you're eating healthy and all those kind of things, your body's fighting the virus, and so you're passing on a worse version, a weaker version of the virus or whatever. So yeah, it's just kind of the normal stuff, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too into the weeds of it, but
Sure.
America itself isn't overrun with the coronavirus right now. However, because it's so new and it's so contagious and you can have it without knowing for so long, I think most of these cancellations, whether it's E3 or any of the sports leagues or anything like that, is more so precautionary to an extent, because you don't want to have a million people in hospitals all at one time. Whereas if we cancel everything now and everybody's kind of getting all the tips and everything to kind of deal with this, then we can stretch this out over a period of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, instead of not canceling this event and everybody having to go to the doctor and go to the hospital all at one time.
Yeah.
And then it's just insanity at that point. So
that's the issue that they're facing in Italy, is just the fact that they waited a little too long to do the drastic measures about it, and now they are having to, quite literally, they're having to like their medical system's just incredibly overrun. So
yeah.
So when does it stop? Do flights get canceled? Like, obviously banning in Europe is happening.
Well, the president last night canceled all flights from Europe for 30 days. So
for at least 30 days. So like I said, every day we kind of know a little bit more about it. But from now, it's just like what you said at the beginning of this, social distancing is kind of where it's just going right now. Because maybe you're infected, maybe you're not infected, but just don't be stupid about it. So, and I don't know if
people.
Exactly. I don't know if anybody out there has had the flu before, like not like a cold or a bad cold, but like the actual flu. I've had it one time in my life. I was out for about 2 weeks. I was very young, but it was probably the most miserable I've ever been in my entire life. So yeah, it's just the flu, and if you're healthy, you'll get over it in a week or two. But it is very not fun to have. That being said, some gaming questions I have for you folks here. Do you think you can go either way on this, and I'll kind of save my opinion for last. E3 is now canceled, and it's been kind of downhill, I guess, the last 2 years. And they did come out and say that they're going to do E3 2021, and it'll be a very different experience from what E3 has been in the past. What that means, I don't know. But from the E3 that we know, do you think it being canceled and all these people are going to be doing digital events, do you think if the digital events go well, that they'll be like, well, why do we need to do E3? Like, if Xbox does this digital event, or Ubisoft or WB or Bethesda, whoever, and they're like, we look at the numbers, we had, everything went as viral as we wanted it to, like it normally does. The numbers are good or just as good or even better than what it would be if we went to E3. Like, why do we need to spend all this money and have these buses haul all this equipment down to LA every year and spend all this money to do a big blowout when we get the same viral sensation from everything we do by just doing a digital event and saving all this money? So do you think that if that was the case, that E3 2021, they may just be like, we're not going because we don't really have a reason to, because of what happened last year?
I think
or it could be the opposite too. Like, it could go bad. So.
I think there are some things you can't replicate online. Example, there's a lot of, especially this year, there's going to be a ton of games that are going to be at specifically Microsoft's thing that are going to be new generation games that the only way you can't do, there's no way they can do a digital conference and be like, now go play this demo of the game, because we don't have that system. And Like there's all kind of developer kits and whatever test kits and stuff that they run certain demos and certain games on that you can't recreate that online unless you're just watching somebody else play it. So there's some things like that, but I do think that I do think the future of E3 is some marriage of the two. I do think there's going to be some in-person thing and more online stuff as well, which of course they have a massive viewing online anyways every year. But I think it's got to be some kind of marriage, some kind of in-between of the two. That makes the most sense to me. I mean, any game that they can announce and then be like, boom, demos on the PlayStation Store or Marketplace or whatever, that's awesome. That's fantastic. But it'll be interesting.
I agree with the marriage. I think there's too much money being made by people physically showing up and people selling merchandise at these events, and there's enough people showing up that people want to do giveaways, etc., that they won't ever go away from the completely physical. However, I feel like either everything going more digital now is, even if it doesn't go 100% well this time, it's going to go somewhat well because people are just curious. Like I was thinking about that basketball game before they just canceled the season that was supposed to be played in front of an empty arena. I don't watch basketball that often, but I was curious to see what it looked like, so I wanted to watch.
Sure.
So you're going to get a lot of people curious to, hey, how is E3 looking this year without or with the changes that are happening? But I think that marriage, you're right, that marriage is going to happen, but there's too much money to be made by people physically showing up.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Like the marriage, I think maybe something like I've listened to a couple podcasts this week with people that are deep into the industry. They said, like you said, Matthew, about the demos and stuff that are on, basically like for example, if Xbox is there, they don't have the final version of the Xbox yet because it's not going to release until the fall or winter or whatever. So they just have dev kits that are playing demos specifically made for E3 or whatever. So they're not going to be able to put those demos out online. So supposedly a lot of these developers have already reached out to people that are deeper in the industry saying, we will video chat you and show you, or we'll just send you videos of someone playing the demo and you can kind of like talk about it on your show or show it on your show or whatever. So it's going to be very different.
It's going to be very different
from that perspective. But again, Nintendo also tweeted out or did a little statement about E3. They kind of hinted to the fact that they're going to try different things to get their games, to get game previews out there. So I also think Nintendo's obviously they're not coming out with a new console this year, so they can do it a little bit easier. Or if they announce a new Pokemon game or a Metroid game or Bayonetta or whatever, they can just plop that demo on their store a lot easier than Xbox or Sony can right now because of the new consoles and everything, or even some of these devs that are going to be showing off games that are coming out for the new consoles. So I think we'll have a little bit of both. I know some people think that, there's no way they can put demos on there because they're all just specifically for E3 and they're on dev kits usually and blah, blah. But
not all.
Yeah, I think we'll have a marriage of both. I think some of the games that are way further out that usually have demos, probably we won't have those. But any game that is coming out this year, I think it's very possible that gets announced. It's very possible that they'll just throw the demo on there, even if it's for a week, even if it's for like E3 said, we're going to still try and do some sort of digital E3 somehow. So like when you go in the PlayStation store or the Xbox store, sometimes they're like when the Game Awards happens, they're like, here's the Game Awards sale. And you can go on there and any game that's been nominated for Game Awards on sale and blah, blah. I can definitely see E3 doing a thing like that where there's an E3 tab on PlayStation or whatever, and you can kind of go on there and download these demos for the week or 2 weeks or whatever and give them a go and be able to talk about them and like whether you're IGN or someone smaller, be able to talk about them and show off and get kind of some inside stuff, and then it goes away after 2 weeks or something like that.
Sure.
But who knows? So yeah, and that's kind of what it means for Xbox. They're going to have to do that digital event, which they've never done before. Do you think now that obviously Sony, we talked about this podcast ago. I remember me and Shibby talking about, when Sony backed out of PAX because of coronavirus, and at that point there was little to no cases in the United States, and we're like, is this Sony, being forward thinking or whatever, or is this them just like backing out of something else again? And it's obviously that it wasn't. So now that everybody's having to back out or everything getting canceled, what do you think this means for PlayStation in and of itself? They were obviously not going to be at E3 anyway, but now, do you think any of their plans have changed? Do you think now that E3's canceled, they weren't going to show up at E3 anyway, maybe they do their digital event announcing the PS5 around the same time everybody else does? Or do you think they're still going to be waiting? Or do you think their plans have changed? Basically, it's my question to both of you.
I don't think so. I feel like they weren't planning on being at E3, so they already made plans before that, so that I don't think it had affected it too much. However, I do think they're going to still be waiting for making the announcement till they see what Xbox is doing, I think. But maybe I'm wrong with that.
I mean, yeah, to me, like initially I thought, they'll probably do something at the beginning of May or maybe April, end of April or something like that, where they kind of give their spiel on everything. But now I'm almost kind of like, you can do like a tinier, like 30-minute digital thing where you kind of show off the PlayStation, but you don't have to give a price, or you can keep some of the games close to your vest or whatever. And then in a couple months, like towards the end of the summer, when maybe we have a better hold on things, you can actually hold your own event in New York or something like they normally do, or like they did with the PS4, and actually do a massive blowout then. But I don't know. I don't know exactly. It's going to be very interesting to see how all this stuff kind of plays out. But Matthew is one that has played the Batman games. WB basically came out and said, yeah, we have a Batman game and another DC Universe game, whatever that means, and a Harry Potter game. They basically made their announcement when they said, yeah, we were going to be at E3 and announce all this stuff, but now E3's canceled. So, but they ended up itself announced a bunch of new games, or confirmed a bunch of rumors at least. So are you excited that they're doing another Batman game?
I think the B in WB stands for Batman.
Maybe it does.
Maybe WB is really just Bruce Wayne, but it's like the proper way where you're like Wayne, Bruce. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like Bond, James Bond, he says it last name first. I see.
Exactly. No, I think it's awesome. I really do. I'm excited for another Batman game. I don't see any reason why they would stop making the Batman games. There is no actor that's needing to be paid more money or getting old or any of that happens in video games like it does in the movies. And the games have been so good. Why? I see no reason for them to stop making.
Let me give some clarity to the statement, because their statement has little tiny interesting tidbits here. So they say they had planned to talk about a number of much anticipated games, including a new Batman, a Harry Potter game, and the next game from Arkham developers at Rocksteady Studios. So they didn't say that Rocksteady, the people that did the Arkham games, are going to do the new Batman game. They said that separately. They said a new Batman game and the next game from Arkham developers.
I would not be surprised. Now I'm just speculating. If a new Batman game is not a Batman game like we've had in the past, but is maybe the full-fledged rest of the game or whatever you want to call it for the PSVR, maybe, and the other VRs, I could see that. And an Arkham developers making a game that feels like, plays like Batman, but is Suicide Squad, now that you have all those announced and those movies out and stuff, that would make sense to me. Suicide Squad would be a video game that would sell far better than the movies have. So
yes. And anything, I think, even a Harley Quinn game, like Suicide Squad with the lead
sure,
of Harley Quinn.
100%.
I am all
Something
for any
like that.
Batman game. The Batman Arkham series is, I think, honestly, my favorite video games, like, right now.
Well, see, I've talked about it before. That is just the theming of the game is totally my style. I love the any superhero type. Man, that's a great world to throw yourself into video game wise. But the action fighting system, flying all over the place, punching each other, while they do that excellent, they do a great job of it. That's not my go-to mechanic. That's just not my preferred style of combat and games and things of that nature. And those games are still amazing to me. So that lets you know they're doing something right. If it's like, it's not really my style, but it's too good to not play. So,
do we know if the new Avengers one is going to have the same fighting style as the Batman games? That comes out later on this year.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of gameplay from the Avengers game. They haven't shown off too much, but it seems kind of like a mix between, combat-wise, what Batman is, mixed with like your typical MMO kind of stuff. Like you have your certain abilities. So like, L1 will do this ability, and then you have to wait for it to refresh or whatever. But at the same time, you probably have your standard punch or if you're Iron Man, shot of whatever. But yeah. I will say this about this whole coronavirus stuff, because more than likely within the coming weeks, more and more people are going to be, whether it's a place that you work at or whatever. I know my wife works at, we live in Greenville, South Carolina, which is not many cases of anything at the moment. But their boss has already told them, and like, we may be working from home and you'll just be video chatting everything and all this stuff. So with so many people being home, what a time, what a brilliant decision by Nintendo to have Animal Crossing come out next week.
Man.
They're going to sell
some geniuses,
so
man.
many more copies. So I'm going to be home. Might as well,
They are some geniuses.
Animal Crossing, I guess. I don't really have any. It's just a guess, but I would assume, I don't know what the numbers are going to be for Animal Crossing already, but I would assume they're going to go up significantly just because everybody's going to be at home.
I would say their digital sales will go up significantly.
Oh yeah.
But there are still a lot of people, specifically kids, who have their parents buy them a game at the store that are going to not get the game until they can go to the store and get the game or whatever.
Just possible.
Possible. Digital downloads are getting pretty. I don't know many people that buy the regular game anymore. Thanks to digital download.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, if digital sales go up 30%, but physical sales go down 50%, I don't know what that balance is. I would have to know their numbers. I'm just
That's true.
Curious.
Yeah.
Curious.
But yeah, I mean, if you have any other things to say about what's happening, it's just I know next week's podcast will probably hopefully have a different topic of the week.
Maybe.
Because
Maybe. It might be worse.
My guess would be that it's still affected by coronavirus. Like maybe Sony announces their digital event, or we have some of these other companies. 'Cause right now, I think it's just Xbox, Ubisoft, and there's one more that have confirmed that they're going to do a digital event. So maybe we know more about the timing of these digital events, or more. My guess is more companies are going to come out pretty soon and be like, "Yeah, we're confirmed to do a digital event." So I think more so than in the coming weeks, the biggest topics are just going to be something that the coronavirus has affected, and not necessarily coronavirus canceling something again. Although GDC, I think, is not canceled yet, and that's like at the end of March, but I assume that will be. And Xbox was actually going to talk about the Series X a little bit at that conference, so I assume that's going to be canceled. So what does that mean for Xbox? They're going to do another digital thing sooner, or what? But
well,
it's
according
all
to New York Times, Disney World or Disneyland or one of those two just announced their closing for now.
Wow.
I would assume.
Which, by the way,
That's a big
you talk about money per day, the amount of money they're losing is going to be a lot.
Yeah, well, and at the same time, a lot of what, if you've watched or read any article about anything, a lot of the stuff, isn't their decision, because the government or the state's going to be like, yeah, you can't have more than 1,000 or 250 people in the same area. Well, theme parks have a significant amount more than that. So, yeah, it's kind of meant to be. And I didn't put this in the podcast. This can be a little extra nugget. It's not technically video game related, but Disney did come out and kind of map out. They have a Marvel land, if you will. I think it's called Marvel Campus, coming to Hollywood first. It's coming out it's this July, I think is when it comes out. And so they had some people come in and test out some of the food and look at the place and all that kind of stuff. But it looks pretty crazy with a new Spider-Man ride that supposedly is like augmented reality, and you wear these goggles, and if you shoot your hands like you're shooting webs, you'll shoot webs and stuff.
I want to know what it takes to get the job of being able to go in there and test food. I'll totally do that.
Well, they invited just a bunch of media people to come and test all their food. Like they have a shawarma stand, and then they have the Guardians of the Galaxy areas have treats that are basically just churros in different colors that they call rations. Cool. Just random stuff like that. Yeah. So people got to go in there and try out all the food, and it looks pretty intense. But
I do have to say, if you're going to cure a disease, taking money from the mouse's pocket, that's a way to find a way. The mouse will find a way to make this disease get fixed.
Yeah. Dang, sure.
Turns out Mickey Mouse has the cure the whole time. Let's just wait. But yeah,
your subscription to Disney Plus.
I'm sure every subscription service is about to go up. HBO.
That's not true. I disagree. My ESPN Plus subscription is worthless now.
That might go down. I was thinking about that today because they canceled everything. The start of baseball, NHL, obviously wrestling. It's going to take a hit at some point, even though it's not announced yet. Probably by the time this uploads, it will be. NBA is gone. I assume the draft is going to be canceled or postponed, or maybe they just do it through the phones or whatever. But even I was seeing on ESPN today, even whether it's the draft, the Redskins today, who I'm a fan of, so maybe I don't know if other teams have done this, but I follow them on Twitter and such. They have banned their scouts and stuff from going to people's pro days and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Clemson had their pro day today, and I saw where T. Higgins, one of our wide receivers or whatever, ran and did all the stuff in the pro day with hand sanitizer in his pocket.
There you go. Everybody got hand sanitizer.
Oh,
but
crazy.
But with all this happening, I'm sure we'll have some very interesting topics in the podcast from the weeks to come. I know next week I'm going to try and get Robot on to talk about Call of Duty a little bit more, because it'll be kind of a week of it being out. And then the following week, I think we'll probably have us and Shibby on to talk about Animal Crossing, because it will have been out for about a week at that point. And so there's and then whatever the coronavirus decides to do to the gaming world. It's a lot of interesting stuff. So if you are not subscribed to us or following us on our social medias, you can follow us at Logon Games just about anywhere. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Google, or we even upload our podcast to our Facebook page if you just want to listen to it on there. But we want to thank you all for listening to this episode. If you have any comments that you want to talk about, if you have an opinion on any of the E3 stuff we talked about, or any of these people giving doing digital conferences, please message us or comment on a link or something. We will see it. And we will talk about it on the show. And again,
now's the time to jump in and play games with us because you'll be sitting at home.
Exactly.
Right.
Go.
New podcast every Friday again. If you're listening to this on Apple, please rate us 5 stars. We will see you guys for sure next Friday.
See you.
Deuce.